Alright guys, so it's been a while. I know that I promised this a while back now, but things just got in the way and I really wanted to make sure that this one was a lot smoother than the first one because watching that one back hurt my head. So here we go, this is part 2 and hopefully the last part of how to play Vanguard coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's get straight into it, shall we? Picking up from where we left off last time, there are 3 types of clans in this game, and those 3 types of clans are Force, Axle, and Protect. Now, all of these clans have different play styles, but all also fit into these specific imaginary gifts. So, as you can imagine, the Force clans are really good at literally just brute forcing everything. Their grade 3s most of the time do have a higher base value than the other 2 clans at 13,000 compared to 12,000 for Protect and Excel. So each imaginary gift has 2 forms. Now the only restriction is that once you choose one to start in a game, you cannot use the other. So for example, if I started the game and when I rode my grade 3, I chose Force 1, I cannot use Force 2. Same thing for Excel and Protect clans. You can only use one form of the imaginary gift per game. I'm going to go over each one really quickly, and yeah, these are really simple, so let's get straight into it. So Force 1, its ability is very simple. You place it onto one of your existing circles once you ride a grade 3 with the Force marker, and whatever unit is on that imaginary gift gains 10,000 power. And Force 2, once you ride a unit that has the Force symbol on it, you can place one of these bad boys, and instead of gaining 10,000, you gain 1 crit. So whatever unit is on that circle automatically deals 2 damage if left unguarded. Moving on to the Axle clans, my favorite type of clan. These are basically our Blitz clans. There are 2 options that you could go with. So Axle 1 lets you gain a new front row rearguard circle. So instead of being locked into 3 lanes, you now have 4. And Axle 1 is also very simple, like Force 1. Whatever unit is on this circle gains 10,000 power. Now, Axle 2 has the same ability, pretty much. You gain an extra front row rearguard circle, but instead of gaining 10,000, you only gain 5, but you get to draw a card. So this really depends on utility versus raw numbers, whichever one you want to go with. Most of the time, you do want to go with these Axle 2 imaginary gifts because you do want that draw advantage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And for Protect, these are our more defensive clans, of course, and they're just super annoying. Even though I personally play Oracle Think Tank. Protect 1, once you ride grade 3 with the Protect symbol on it, you can add 1 Protect marker from your imaginary gift zone, which is basically your token zone, to your hand, and that card's ability is basically the same functionality as a perfect guard. It is counted as a sentinel, so when you use it to guard, discard 1 card and the attack is basically nullified unless the attacking unit has an ability to nullify that nullification. Yes, it's a double null, which is which exists. And that is it for Protect 1. Its second form, Protect 2, when you ride a grade 3 with the Protect symbol, you can place it on one of your rearguard circles, and the unit there gains 5,000 power and gains 10,000 shield when it intercepts. So basically, grade 2s become very useful in guarding. That is it for the imaginary gifts. Now, speaking of imaginary gifts and moving into clans, there are a total of 24 main clans in the game of Vanguard. There are some other ones that Bushiroad likes to add in like Bang Dream and Token Ranbu, but we won't really count those toward the 24 count. So each one of these clans has, like I said earlier, different ways of playing and makes the game very, very, very diverse. Some off the top of my head, we have Royal Paladin, Gold Paladin, Shadow Paladin, Kagero, Tachikaze, Narukami, Gear Chronicle, Dark Irregulars, Spike Brothers, A Pale Moon, Aqua Force, Grand Blue, Bermuda Triangle, Great Nature, Neo Nectar, Mega Colony, and there are a bunch more that I can almost never remember off the top of my head. But yeah, hopefully I would have had the initiative to pop some pictures up on the side here. So now that we're done with that, let's move into the field that we'll be using. So this is the Yu-Gi-Oh card field that you know and love and maybe sometimes hate, but comparing this to a Vanguard field is a little extra because of the extra 2 lanes. So let's switch it over to something that's a little more akin: speed duels, or duel links by extension, because it's pretty much the same thing. You have 3 columns and that's pretty much it. So now we're going to look at what a Vanguard field looks like now. So this is the Vanguard field. Tried to make this as simple as possible and try to keep my brand in there with Impa as the background. So as you can see here, you have your 3 lanes, your 3 columns. To the left on the bottom, you have your damage zone. Up here in this empty space is where we put our imaginary gifts and tokens and such. Anything extra that doesn't go into the deck goes here. The trigger zone is where we place triggers during trigger checks for attacking and taking damage. The deck zone, of course, is the deck zone, and the drop zone is our graveyard. The biggest difference here is the Guardian Circle. So when you are attacked, this is the only time that you really use this, and I'll get into that later once we discuss turn structure. And now our field. So our main circle here in the middle is our Vanguard Circle. This is the leader of our deck, and this is the only unit that takes any damage. Around it are its rear guards, or its allies during the game, and there are 3 units in the front and 3 units in the back. Units in the front row are the only ones that can attack, unless your units in the back have an ability that allow them to attack from the back row, or your Vanguard has abilities that lets units attack from the back row. Generally, you only want grade 1s or grade 0s in your back row because those are the only units that can boost. We covered this in the previous video, so if you didn't check that out, make sure you go check that out. And rear guards in the front can be anything from grade 0 to grade 3 or grade 4, so if you have any in your deck and you want to put them there, I wouldn't advise it, but you could. Now, this is pretty much everything. So now that you guys know what the field looks like, let's get you guys into the gameplay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about turn structure. So at the beginning of the game, both players have their starting Vanguard on their Vanguard Circle and draw 5 cards. Next, you'll want to redraw any cards that you didn't like or you don't want in your hand back to the deck. So put them to the bottom of your deck, redraw the same amount of cards that you put back, and once you have, shuffle your deck. Once that's done, decide who goes first to draw a card. So this is our draw phase. And after draw phase, you move into your ride phase. So you go from grade 0 to grade 1. Now, your starting Vanguard will always have an ability that lets you draw a card from the top of your deck. And if your opponent is already at grade 1, you can add a quick shield from your imaginary gift zone or your ticket zone to your hand. So next is now your main phase. So the main phase is where you can call any units from your hand to your 5 rear guard circles. These units have to be either equal or lesser in grade than your Vanguard. You can't have your backup being stronger than your main unit. So for demonstration's sake, I'm calling these 2 triggers, but generally you want to keep these in your hand. So now we move into the battle phase. So we rest the 2 units and choose our target, but for Vanguard units, this is where we activate what we call our drive checks. So we take the top card of our deck, reveal it. So if it isn't a trigger, then it just goes to your hand and nothing happens. After that, calculate what the damage is. If your attacking power is equal to or higher than your opponent's defensive power, then the attack goes through. If it's lower, then it doesn't. Once you're done attacking, that's the end of the turn. So now let's pretend that our opponent went through their turn and now they're attacking us. If a rearguard is attacked and you don't guard it, it goes from your field to the drop zone. If you guard it, then it stays on the field. If you plant a guard, then the same rule applies for guardians. Your guards must be the same grade or lower than your Vanguard. So in this example, I use Knight of the Harp Tristan, which gives an extra 10,000 power to my Flogel in the front row, but since I don't want to do that, it goes to the drop zone. When your Vanguard is attacked, guard or take damage. So just like your drive check, take the top card of your deck, reveal it, and if you reveal a trigger, add any values to any units that you want. Once you reach 6 damage, the game is over. So always keep that in mind. Once it's your turn again, we go to the stand phase, where we restand all of our units and draw a card. That heal is unfortunate. So now in the ride phase, we go from grade 1 to grade 2. Now I ride Blaster Dark in this example, and the turn goes on as it normally does. Alright, so we've skipped a little bit, and now we're at grade 3. There are two main differences now. When attacking, your Vanguard twin drives instead of single drives. And the other thing that I forgot to mention, and I forgot to do in this example, is to add a force marker to one of these rearguard circles. So you can give it to your Vanguard, you can put it on this rearguard circle, you can put it on this rearguard circle, no problems. So we're just going to go through this really quickly. Going to attack with our grade 3 Vanguard, and hopefully we pull some triggers. First check. So a draw trigger, so we can give power to our Blaster Dark on the side here to make his attack bigger, and draw one card. And second check, nothing. So those go to our hand, and the attack is over. And our third attack ends our turn. Now when you're being attacked, and you have grade 2s in your front row, you can use grade 2s to intercept. Now this is where you take your grade 2 units in the front row and put them into the Guardian Circle. You can also add cards from your hand to the Guardian Circle just in case. And that is it. Perfect guards work like this. So put it in the Guardian Circle, discard one card from your hand, and it nullifies the attack. Quick shields can also be used to give your units a boost when being attacked. So at the end of that turn, we restand our units and we draw a card for turn. So now I'm going to ride into grade 4 here. I also forgot to put another force marker. Sorry about that. Never forget to put your force markers, guys. So next, I'm going to call Blaster Blade to the side of my field and activate its auto ability, which happens on ride or on call. So Blaster Blade's ability's cost is 1 Counterblast and 1 Soul Blast, as you can see on the screen. Counterblasting is taking one face-up card in your damage zone and flipping it face down. Now Soul Blasting is taking one card under your Vanguard and sending it to your drop zone. Once these costs have been paid, the ability activates, which lets me retire or pretty much destroy a unit on my opponent's side of the field. But since we don't have an opponent in this example, let's just pretend that we blew something up. So now I'm going to activate a normal order, and this is called When Light and Darkness Intersect. So this card's ability is, if I control a Blaster Blade, I can search for a Blaster Dark in my deck and add it to my hand, and vice versa. If I have a Blaster Dark, I can search for a Blaster Blade and add it to my hand. On top of that, if I have a Blaster Blade and a Blaster Dark anywhere on my field, I can search for a Majesty Lord Blaster and add that to my hand. So I put it on the side of the field just so that it doesn't leave the field view of the camera, but it doesn't really matter. as long as you activate it clearly, your opponent should just, you know, be fine with it. Alright guys, so the last thing that we're going to cover is countercharging and soul charging. So we already know how to blast things. You flip a card face down, and you take a card under your Vanguard and put it into your drop zone. Now, countercharging and soul charging are our ways of being able to replenish those resources, because a lot of decks use the resources to activate abilities. So there are natural ways, and then there are card abilities that let you do both. But the most natural way for countercharging or getting more damage to counterblast is by healing, of course. A lot of units in the game have abilities that let you countercharge. The symbols for them should be up here. And for soul charging, the natural way of gaining souls is constantly riding over. Now, this isn't really a problem because of course you want to be able to keep riding at grade 3 imaginary gifts more and more as the game progresses, but there are also other ways to soul charge cards, and lots of units in the game have the ability to either soul charge or put another card from your field into your soul or another card from your hand into your soul, stuff like that. That is it, guys. A few more straggling thoughts that I have. First is hand size. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There is a hand size limit, but in Vanguard there is no hand size limit. So you could have 14 cards in your hand and 4 cards left in your deck, and you'd be completely fine. You'd be good to go as long as you don't deck out. Now, the most important thing, guys, is to make sure you know what clan you want to play. I, in the past, have fallen victim to constantly trading decks because one deck seemed so interesting to me, and then only to find out 2 tournaments later that I don't really like the way that the deck plays. So make sure that you research into what the deck looks like right now, or what the clan looks like right now, because even if it isn't meta, if you think that the gameplay of the deck is interesting and enjoyable for you, then that should be enough reason for you to want to try it and pick it up. And of course, make sure that you test it before buying the cards or going out and splurging on booster packs to try and get some of the pieces for your deck, because of course it is still a financial investment on your part, and you don't want to go out spending money on a deck that you won't end up enjoying in the long run. So that is it, guys. If there's anything else that you want to know, let me know down in the comments, and I will get to that as soon as I can. I'm so sorry that this one took this long. It's just that there's so much thought that I had to put into this, and I feel like I still missed out on some of the important bits. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if there's anything else that you guys want to know. I'll have a quick Q&A video for those things. And yeah, that is it. I hope that you guys are interested in trying out Vanguard V Standard, soon to be V Premium. Once Overdress comes out, I'll do another how-to there, but of course it won't be as extensive anymore since not much will be changing coming from V Standard to Overdress Standard. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my rambling. I am Jello the Casual Card Gamer. Take care.